Ouviremos neste momento a Sua Alteza Real.
And now we're going to listen to Her Royal Highness Princess Laurentien of the Netherlands, Special Representative of UNESCO for Literacy for Development.
Signora Governor,
Distinguished Governor, Your Excellency Mr. Conari, Director General.
it is indeed a great pleasure to be here in such distinguished company for the first time since my appointment as UNESCO Special Envoy on Literacy for Development. I would indeed like to thank the Member States and UNESCO Secretariat, and in particularly the Institute in Hamburg, for taking the initiative of organizing this conference. And also the government of Brazil for taking the initiative to bring us here, and the state of Pará and the city of Belém for this tremendous hospitality. It's been referred to before, but indeed right here next to the world's greatest natural resource, I cannot imagine a more inspiring environment to talk about our human resources. Our presence here indeed symbolizes how natural and human resources are inextricably linked. Over the next few days, we'll exchange insights and define action. May the commitments we express here lead to an ambitious Belém framework of action by the time we leave. This conference is only one step of the way. Our tangible success will be defined by putting into practice what we already know and will agree on over the next few days, and what we need to do is scale up action. A lot has been done, but I remain concerned about the huge gap to be bridged between reaching our shared education for all goal of reducing the number of illiteracy by 50% in 2015. It's been more urgent than ever before that literacy for children, young people and adults is moved up the list of national priorities. When it comes to adult literacy, we have sharpened the agenda through the International Strategic Framework of Action, and this should guide us through the second half of the UN Literacy Decade. But the question then is, how do we achieve real progress? And I'd like to share a few thoughts on that. First, by positioning learning and literacy as relevant to pretty much all challenges that we face, globally, regionally, nationally, and locally. For instance, protecting the environment and health, alleviating poverty, ensuring financial stability, managing migration flows, and living in peace. Take today, it's World AIDS Day. That issue cannot be solved without education. And next year is the UN Year of Biodiversity, another chance to show how learning and literacy is relevant to biodiversity. And secondly, by approaching learning and literacy within the wider context of the literacy chain, because all areas are inextricably linked. Early childhood development, reading and writing for young people, adult learning, and literate environments. So by making literacy everyone's business, we will increase our chance of multiplying impact. About the relevance. For the great Paulo Freire, literacy was about participating more critically in society. Society is framed by the way we deal with our challenges, and informed citizens are crucial for addressing them. How indeed can we achieve our ambitions on competitiveness, healthy living, sustainability, social inclusion, and active citizenship when large proportions of the population lack the necessary skills? This makes education of both children and adults imperative. But there's no meaningful learning without literacy. It's a means to an end. Investing in literacy is investing in someone's feeling of self-confidence, a sense of self-worth. Now, this may be a given for you and for me. But adults who were formerly illiterate tell me that, and have taught me, that literacy is about every aspect of their lives. It's about gaining self-esteem, about overcoming shame, about finding and maintaining a job, being productive, raising children, living healthily, and yes, very often, simply about being happy. It's about having a chance to a future without boundaries. And yes, it is about freedom and equality. Now, what does this mean for your work in adult learning? Decision makers and influencers in all these areas, from health to development to environment and financial management, need to understand the relevance of learning and literacy to their work. The same goes to civil society and companies. They need to fully appreciate that by investing in literacy, there's a greater chance of success in their respective areas of work. We need to convince them on the basis of clear evidence. Does this hold true for all regions of the world, you may wonder? Yes, indeed. Africa, Asia, Latin America, and indeed in Europe, it is the same situation. We need to show the relevance of literacy. As the 16th century philosopher in the Netherlands has said, called Erasmus, literacy is a mindset. Then about the literacy chain. Although our focus during these days is on enhancing adult learning and reducing levels of illiteracy, I very much hope that we keep in mind that adult learning is inextricably linked with preventing children from becoming illiterate. A child raised by literate parents has a higher chance of personal development, success, and of becoming an active citizen. And that's ultimately what we want and what we need. Put differently, if you want to educate a village, educate the mothers. The notion of the literacy chain also goes beyond the formal educational field, because a learner is also an employee, a voter, and a consumer. The everyday environment provides unlimited learning opportunities. So we need it all. And early childhood development, and universal primary education, and secondary and vocational education, and adult learning, and creating literate environments. Now, to make this a reality, we need to work together and not be tempted to compete with each other and for attention and funding among different parts of the literacy chain. What we do in one area is likely to strengthen the success in another. Taking the literacy chain as our starting point, we should also accept that our work is never ending. So how do we put the notions of relevance and literacy into practice? We need to scale up our impact by creating a snowball effect. A lot has been achieved through individual and collective efforts. We have most of the insights about what works and what doesn't work in illiteracy programs. You and many other dedicated experts across the world work tirelessly on these themes every day, and I commend you for your efforts. But we can only scale up our impact by reaching out to players outside the traditional educational field and involve them in the learning challenges. We need to find new partners and create a sense of co-ownership. In this context, I'd like to share the concept of the marketplace with you. It takes a network a step further. Networks generally are about sharing knowledge and best practices among a group of like-minded people. In a marketplace, like-minded players also preach to the non-converted, to create a demand that wasn't there before. That's where the impact is scaled up, by bringing together supply and demand. The like-minded players provide the supply side, namely the vast array of knowledge, educational methods, campaigns, research, experts that exist. And by showing the relevance of learning and literacy, we create demand among non-traditional players in the private and public sectors. Just an example, if a company is unaware that the percentage of its employees has literacy problems, it's unlikely to invest in them. The task, therefore, is to raise awareness, give evidence that their productivity increases, and provide support to go and do it. We have to be practical, and we have to be concrete in the results that we want to reach. In conclusion, every one of you working in different countries and regions no doubt faces different challenges. But learning affects us all across the world. And I very much hope that our shared efforts over the coming days will strengthen our commitment to scale up impact and harness new resources for learning and literacy. We need to celebrate successes, yes, but more importantly, we need to build on them and replicate them elsewhere. The vision I've laid out may be common sense for some and daring for others. I look forward to working with you to help make learning and literacy everyone's business. But what's more important is that we're in a prime position to connect the dots, seize opportunities, and maximize the potential of our efforts. And remember, when doing so, let us never lose sight of what it means for someone's life, and thus to the world we live in, and to the sustainable future we all want. Thank you.